fille sans nom, erre sans raison, et puis sans façon approchera l'homme qui ne dira pas, ne dira pas.
Alright, so there's kind of the conditions are it's about 0 degrees Celsius, which 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's right at freezing. The water here from the Umeälven is quite cold. And there's just a slight little breeze. So the breeze shouldn't affect things too much, but so this is more or less a real world test of how I would use the different kitchens, because I rarely have the optimal room temperature water to work with. I rarely have the optimal wind and temperatures, and I rarely have the optimal this or that. I mean, you know, a kitchen test done inside of a house on a stove are pointless in my view. So this is more just like showing the windmaster, Soto windmaster, comparable, you know, compared to these two other, the MSR mini stove with the pocket rocket and the Jetboil Soul TI, which isn't being sold anymore, but it's got the same specs as the Jetboil Flash, which weighs 100 grams more. So the only thing I'm really doing is just making sure that they're more or less at max speed. Everything else equal. You can't really see it on the video just because it's quite bright out here, but when the wind starts to pick up, you can really see the difference in how the MSR and the Soto perform. And that's because of this big gap right there. Let's see if I can get close in there. It's this much bigger gap, and you can really see how the flames just kind of fly all over the place on that one. Yeah, there's actually quite a big difference here. The Soto is near boil. It's at boil now. And the MSR is barely lukewarm. I mean, I actually have my entire hand in there, and it's probably at least 3-4 minutes away from actually boiling, and the Soto Windmaster is already boiling. So that's just like a really simple real world test. Same water temperature, same amount of, and the same, yeah, everything's the same. And the MSR is nowhere even close to being boiling. And the Soto Windmaster has been boiling. Yeah, it's already done. So I'm just gonna go ahead and turn off the MSR to save gas, because that is quite literally nowhere near being boil. So I'll go ahead and compare with the Jetboil. They're both cranked up full temperature. I forgot to press record at exactly the right moment, but the Vargo has already been boiling, and let it boil for about 30 seconds, and now it's been about a minute later, and the Jetboil is not boiling yet a minute later, but it's certainly out. It's certainly warmer than what the MSR was at about this phase as well. I'll go ahead and put that on to let it get up to boiling. So again, the Soto Windmaster, just far superior than, I mean, far superior to the MSR. The MSR was barely even warm. The pocket rocket, with the slight little breeze out here in this cold -degrees weather. And the Jetboil was holding its own, actually. I would say it was even leading the Vargo until the breeze started to pick up again. the Fargo. The Jetboil was holding its own and actually probably even leading until the wind started to pick up, and then it just kind of died off, which really is, in my view, the problem with the Jetboil, just like it is with the MSR and any other butane canister powered stove, except for the Soto Windmaster, is that as soon as a slight little breeze, which is what you're always going to get when you're out backpacking, as soon as that little breeze comes on, they just, I mean, look at that, we're still not boiling on the Jetboil. And now it's about 2 minutes later from when the Vargo was, from when the Soto Windmaster was boiling. I mean, it really is impressive to see how the Windmaster holds up in heavy, or I shouldn't even say heavy, it's definitely not heavy winds today, how the Windmaster holds up in real world conditions. Everything was the exact same. Every single thing, the water, the air temperature, the wind, everything. And now I don't even think I'm going to get a boil with my Jetboil, actually, because the wind is kicked up a little bit. And the Vargo, yeah, it's almost 3 minutes later, and the Soto Windmaster already boiled. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the Jetboil, as it's lost everything once the wind started to kick up a little bit. When I started this comparison, I really wanted to compare it more for myself, because you know, I've been using the Jetboil for years. I've used the MSR Pocket Rocket for years, and I've always been frustrated by how crappy they are once a slight little breeze picked up. And I always find myself having to layer up rocks or backpacks or, you know, my body to kind of block some of the wind. And when I started using the Soto Windmaster, I was like, wow, this thing actually does pretty good. But I hadn't actually done like a real world comparison like I've done now. This was more just kind of a intellectual exercise to just kind of see, like, is my brain perceiving these things properly? So I really wanted to give it like a proper test. Everything being equal, water temperature, air temperature equal, and a slight little breeze. And the Windmaster was just so far superior to both the Jetboil and the MSR Pocket Rocket. I'm actually quite surprised that the difference was that big. I mean, by the time the Soto Windmaster was boiling, the MSR was just starting to get warm. That's how big of a difference is. It was like lukewarm tea if I wanted that. I mean, such a big difference between the MSR and the Soto Windmaster, with just slight little wind variations. And you know, of course, that was, as I was saying, this is built for heavy winds. I mean, this is the idea, is that you don't need a separate windshield. You don't need to be bothered. You're not, you know, the idea behind the Windmaster is that you're not actually going to be indoors on your kitchen stove cooking things. So they kind of built it with that in mind. I was actually surprised that it was so far superior to even the Jetboil, which I absolutely love the Jetboil, and I've been using this one. God, I bought this in 2011 maybe. I don't know. They canceled it like the year after that, but the regulator, everything's still the same to today's more heavier variations of the Jetboil. But in real world conditions, I mean, even in these mild conditions where it's just a slight little breeze, the Soto Windmaster is just light years ahead. I mean, don't get me wrong, the MSR Pocket Rocket 2 is a great stove, but it's far behind the Soto Windmaster as far as real world performance goes. And the Jetboil, it's legendary. The Jetboil's been, you know, innovated the entire marketplace, and they're still known as being some of the fastest boils. But once that wind starts to pick up even a little bit of a breeze, if you don't have a windshield or blocking somewhere, you're screwed. You lose all that performance. And the only product that really comes close to the Soto Windmaster, that would be the MSR Windburner Pro, which is the burner and the stove itself. But then it's kind of like the Jetboil, but heavier. It's 500 grams or more for the solo version of the Windburner. So 500 grams, a little bit more. So far, when I've been using them, I've actually been getting better results with the Soto Windmaster. And maybe I'll do another comparison video of those two in relatively real-world conditions. So, is the Soto Windmaster expensive? Yeah, I mean, 80 bucks for just the burner. Yeah, I can say that that's kind of expensive. But considering how much more superior it is to everything else on the market for what it does, you kind of got to expect to pay a little bit more. Would I buy it again with my own cash? No doubt. If I got to choose between anything else in the world when it comes to burner, let's say the super light, say 20 grams to 200 gram or 500 gram wind burner. I mean, let's say I get the entire smorgasbord of all of the possible alternatives and I had to choose one. That's it. And I do choose this one. And for damn good reason. So that's my review of the Soto Windmaster. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe. And also you can buy the Soto Windmaster at backpackinglight.dk or backpackinglight.se. Cheers.